that Holly and Kane have chosen to start their life as husband and wife, strengthening the bond they share. They feel blessed that you have come to share in their joy on this special day and want to thank you all for being here. By your presence, you celebrate with them the love they have discovered in each other, and you support their decision to commit themselves to a lifelong relationship. As Proust said, let us be grateful to the people who make us happy. They are the charming gardeners who make our souls blossom. Do you, the families of Holly and Kane, give your love and blessing to this new couple? Will all of you do everything in your power to uphold and care for these two people in their lives together?
Yes.
Who gives this woman to be married?
I do. Yes. I'll get the habit on.
Yeah, you can have it. Everyone, please be seated.
Okay. I love you both.
Holly and Kane are surrounded by family and friends, all of whom have gathered to witness and share in this occasion. It is their hope that today will be a joyous celebration of the love they share with each other, but also the love shared between us all, parents, siblings, extended family, and best friends. Because love is enormous, to take even a tiny piece into yourself and be able to experience and understand it is the greatest gift in the world. In marriage, we give ourselves freely and generously into the hands of the one we love, and in doing so, each of us receives the love and trust of the other as the most precious gift. New experiences lie before you with opportunities to grow deeper in love with each other. As you walk hand in hand into the future, cherish each moment as a gift given to strengthen the bond between you two. The bond you are entering in today as a married couple is truly one of life's most important relationships. Real love goes far beyond the feelings of romance and bliss. It is caring more about the well-being and happiness of each other rather than your own needs and desires. Love makes burdens lighter because you divide them and bring comfort where there is sorrow. It makes joys more intense because you share them. It makes you stronger together than you are apart because you will always know that you have a partner that supports you. It is not only about making your commitment to the right partner, it's about being the right partner. You come here today to affirm your love for one another and formally acknowledge that which your heart already knows, that your lives are meant to be shared as one, and that for all of the days yet to come, you wish to share together all of life's joys and challenges. You stand before us today to declare your promises openly and gladly. Kane, will you promise that you will love her for today and for all of your tomorrows? Will you give yourself fully to her? Will you promise to be open and honest in your relationship and share completely in your life together? Will you promise to give her all of your comfort, support, and strength?
I do.
Holly, will you promise Kane that you will love him for today and all of your tomorrows? Will you give him to yourself fully? Will you promise to be open and honest in your relationship and share completely in your life together? Will you promise to give him all of your comfort, support, and strength? I do. Holly and Kane would like to take a moment to share a story with you all.
Hello, everybody. Hello. First, we'd like to say thanks for all of our family and friends for sharing our special day with us. We thought about some of the things that we would like to say to each other up here, but we figured I think we've said it all. And so what we would like to do, for those of you who have not heard our story of how we met, and those of you who have already heard it, we would like to share it with you again. So as many of you know, back in 2010, me and my business partners opened up a couple of vacation rentals up on Mount Hood. And so we started having to go to Boring Bark, which Holly's family owns, to get landscape supplies. And I discovered some great tasting coffee there. And it was free. So I would stop in once in a while and have coffee and get supplies. Well, I'd also stop when I was skiing or when I was working at the cabins, any chance I got. And all of a sudden I discovered this little blonde that was there.
Because I'm so little.
Yeah, and so as time went by, I would make excuses to talk to her. But as time went by, I realized that I'd pop in once in a while and she wouldn't be there. And so, where's Erin? Erin, thank you so much for giving me her schedule. Because I was sick and tired of showing up and her not be there. So as we were going up to the mountain, obviously my business partner, I'd be sitting in the passenger seat texting or whatever I was doing on my phone, and out of the corner of my eye I would see him just look over at me, and I'd be like, what? He goes, are we stopping or not? I'm like, no, it's her day off, just keep going. So we'd get up there and we would do our work, and as time would pass by, different days we'd be up there, I'd be like tapping my wrist, looking at everybody, we need to get going, we need to go. And they're like, why? And I'm like, she's working today and they close at 5, let's go. So we would go back, and then I would take an opportunity to talk to her once in a while. But I found out at some point they started selling the coffee. It was no longer free. Well, I found out she was the coffee girl. She was doing all the roasting. So I would have to go home and Google questions about coffee so I would know what to ask her. So I'd ask her a couple of questions, and she'd be like, what was it you said?
I said, oh, let me grab my aunt. She's the coffee guru. And then he would say, oh, no. It's fine. I have another question for you.
Yeah, well, I'm like, we'll figure it out together. We'll figure it out. We'll work it out. So as time went by, a couple of years passed, and I'd go in and I'd talk to her, and I'd come out, and I would say to my friends, one of these days, I'm going to ask her out. And finally, they're like, you know what? We are sick and tired of hearing you say that. Every time you go in there and you talk to her, you come out, you say, I'm going to ask her out. Do not say that again to us until you've asked her out. Well, we would have parties or get-togethers up on the mountain, and I would ask her, hey, you want to come up and, maybe have a barbecue or sit in a hot tub or whatever?
He'd say, bring your swimsuit, and you can spend the night.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
As you guessed, that never got me a date. So one day, matter of fact, it was January 6th of 2015, I woke up and I thought, you know what? Today's the day. I'm going to go do it. I'm going to get cleaned up, and I'm going to put on some nice clothes. I'm going to drive all the way to Boring, and I'm going to ask her out. But the problem is I'm thinking, you know what? I'm going to get there, and she's going to see that I'm in nice clothes, and she's going to go, hey, you're not in your work clothes. You're not in your ski clothes. What are you doing here? I thought, maybe that'll be my way in. Maybe I can start talking to her then, because I was trying to figure out how to ask this gorgeous girl out. So I got all cleaned up. I get there, and she was nowhere to be found. And I asked the barista, where's she at? And she's in the back working. I said, can you go get her? And she's like, she comes back out. She's too busy. I said, I'm going to wait right here. I'm not leaving. I mustered all this courage up to ask her out. I'm not leaving. So you just have to go ask. You're going to tell her, I'll just wait. So finally she comes out, and she was a mess. She had been crying, whatever. But as she's walking toward me, here's this gorgeous coffee-covered blonde. And I was probably should have been figuring out how to ask her out, but all I really wanted to do was lick all the coffee off. But I thought, you know what? I should probably get past the first date, or at least get the first date. But she walks up, and I was thinking I was going to have some time to kind of work my way into this, but the first thing out of her mouth was, what are you doing all dressed up? You're not in your work gear, and you're not in your ski gear. No, you just throw me right into the fire. I guess I'll get started on this. So I said, I'm glad you asked. I drove up here from Salem to ask you out. She goes, what? And right then, that reaction kind of threw me off a little bit. I'm like, yeah, I drove here to ask you out. And she goes, no, you didn't. I'm like, yeah, I did. She goes, really? I'm like, yeah. I'm thinking, is this really ridiculous? I was thinking to myself. She goes, I don't date customers. It only lasted about 3 seconds. It goes right after that. She goes, but I will get you my number. I'm like, all right. So we go up to the counter. And she starts writing down my name. The thing is, she wrote down
Chet.
Chet. Not Kane, Chet. I'm like, I don't want to embarrass her, so I'm like, let's start over. Give me the pen. I'm going to help you out. So I marked out Chet, and I wrote down Kane, and then so I gave her my number. She's like, you know what? I really can't go out with you. It's going to be a couple of weeks. My friend from Hawaii, Charnay, she's in town. It's going to be a couple of weeks. You're going to have to wait. I'm like, she took my number, but she tells me no. I'm like, okay, maybe I got a chance. So I get on the road. All right, you friends of Holly. She texts me her first qualifying question. Any guesses what that question was? She asked if duck or beaver. That was her first question. I'm like, really? I'm looking at this going, and I'm not from Oregon. But I knew how important this was. So my answer was platypus. And I'm like, tragedy averted. So I'm telling my friends, I finally did it. I got a date. It's going to happen. I'm thinking, I've got to figure out how. If I can just have her for 2 hours, if we could just talk for 2 hours, this would be great. Well, it was 4.5 hours our first date. 4.5 hours. So some time passed by. This is so embarrassing.
You're doing good.
I spent so much time buying this freaking coffee. I made her breakfast in bed. So I took her breakfast, and of course, I made her coffee. She picks up the coffee and she goes, "What is this?" I'm like, "Oh, it's Folgers." Here, I'll let you have it from here. She gets up and goes to my kitchen and just throws the cupboards open.
He said, I have something to show you. So I open up this cupboard, and it is filled with Warren Burke Cat's Boon coffee. Pounds and pounds and pounds and pounds. With a big, huge metal Folgers can in the very front.
And I said, I am so glad you said yes. My friends and family are so sick and tired of getting coffee for Christmas and birthdays and anniversaries. I did nothing but buy coffee. So, of course, here we are now. So that is our story.
That's our story.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Holly and Kane, you are about to exchange your marriage vows. These vows are an expression of the promises you have chosen to make to each other, the vows you will share, you will thrive on the love that you have for each other, and your marriage will grow deeper as time goes by. As you journey through life together, may you continue to trust each other, laugh together, and keep the lines of communication open, and may your lives together be filled with joy and good coffee. And good coffee, yes. Kane, do you take Holly to be your wedded wife? Do you give yourself to her and only to her for the rest of your days? Do you promise to love her, comfort her, honor her, and keep her in good times and bad as long as you both shall live?
I do.
Holly, do you take Kane to be your wedded husband? Do you give yourself to him and only him for the rest of your days? Do you promise to love him, comfort him, honor, and keep him in good times and bad as long as you both shall live?
I do.
Could we have the rings, please? This one. All right. So, Kane, I'm going to have you place the ring on Holly's left finger and repeat after me. I, Kane, take you, Holly, to be my wife.
I, Kane, take you, Holly, to be my wife.
I promise in front of our family and friends to stand beside you in love always.
I promise in front of our family and friends to love you always.
In times of celebration and sadness,
In times of celebration and sadness,
in times of pleasure and pain,
in times of pleasure and pain,
in times of sickness and health,
in times of sickness and health,
I will be with you and love you as long as we both shall live.
I'll be with you and love you as long as we both shall live.
Holly, you place your ring on Cain's left finger. I, Holly, take you, Cain, to be my husband.
I, Holly, take you, Cain, to be my husband.
I promise in front of our family and friends to stand beside you and love you always.
I promise in front of our family and
To
friends
stand beside
to
you
stand beside you
and love you always.
and love you always.
In times of celebration and sadness,
In times of celebration and in sadness,
in times of pleasure and pain,
times of pleasure and in pain,
in times of sickness and health,
in times of sickness and health.
I will be with you and love you as long as we both shall live.
I will be with you and love you as long as we both shall live.
The perfect circle of a ring symbolizes eternity. As you give these rings to each other, our hope is that your love for each other will be as eternal and everlasting as these two rings. Are you ready? So I'm going to have you guys stand up here. We're going to sign your marriage certificate first. Cain and Holly, the two of you are now joined as one. May the love you share today continue to grow and flourish. Since you have promised your love to each other in front of God and these witnesses, I now pronounce you husband and wife. What we have joined together today, let no one separate. Cain, you may kiss your bride. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct honor to pronounce and introduce to you for the very first time, Charles and Holly Cain. If the guests could please remain seated while the family exits.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for coming out tonight to celebrate the wedding of two people we all love, Cain and Holly. I'm so happy to see that everyone is having such a great time tonight. Cain and Holly really know how to throw a party, don't they? When I first met Holly, I knew that she was the woman Cain would end up marrying, even if it hadn't dawned on him quite yet. It was obvious to everyone around just how smitten he was with her. They talk about a bride's glow, but this man was shining since the moment he met Holly. He changed for the better without realizing it, and we all could see it. He couldn't stop talking about her. Our group of friends would go and do things together, and Holly's name would be brought up about every 2 minutes. So when he came to us to tell us he would be proposing, our only response was, well, it's about time. There's something special about these two. They go together without forcing it, they love each other without fighting it, and they care about each other without thinking about it. She was the one from the very beginning, Cain, and we're also happy to be able to be taking a part in your big day. I heard a quote one time: "A real man never stops trying to show a woman how much she means to him, even after he's got her." We wish you years and years of happiness and love. Never stop going the extra mile for one another. When you feel yourself getting a bit too comfortable and complacent, remember that quote. Spice things up, do small things for one another, and always remind the other of how much you love them. Can everyone please raise your glass and toast to the happy couple? Cheers.
Put your hands together for their first dance as husband and wife. Very nice. Moving up to 20 years or less now. 20 years or less. Congratulations. Yourself, walk it by yourself.